so tired of the crowds of New York. While I am observing, I wonder where to look, but the nodal points where these roads intersect are not one of the strategic points in a city where we can observe, William.
I also assume that these areas are important points for people to interact with each other. That's why I always say that some places are successful, lively, crowded, used in different ways. Some of them are dead, they cannot attract people, they have no contribution to make city life more livable.
What does that mean, William? I wouldn't judge success or failure that way because people are different and wanting to place their house in a neighborhood is one of the main differences. People want to live where the action is, while others want more isolation. These can be called the extrovert-introvert dimension. That's why I find it wrong to consider places where people go because they are quieter as dead.
You're twisting the point, Alexander. It applies to the public areas we are talking about right now. For example, the place that I call a successful place could be a sculpture site or an open space could be used as a cafe. These areas enable people to interact socially and encourage traits that control people. This event also supports the triangle theory. Thus, these areas become more lively and crowded. These are even areas where, for example, stairs, if the stairs are steep, they do not attract people, but if they are short, they display an inviting attitude.
You talk about the overcrowding of public spaces and you call it successful, but you don't take into account population growth. Inadequate public spaces and disruptions in the planning process are now occurring in cities. Unqualified fields are formed. Therefore, it is necessary to humanize the cities first. I have a car too, but I don't think much of driving in Copenhagen. I prefer bike, bus or subway instead. Guys, the image of given reality can vary significantly between different observers, so there's no need to argue. I have a very urgent meeting, so I have to go to Istanbul. Will you accompany me?
Attention please, Turkish Airlines flight number TK2159.
Wow, what a beautiful city Istanbul is. After New York, this place felt very good to me and it is a great place for a new observation. By the way, I would like to quote you from my new book. We are not just the observers of this show, we are a part of it ourselves on the stage along with the other participants. Yes, observation. Good weather is essential for observation and observations are made at this time as it provides the best conditions for public life.
Observation in New York, I realized that people prefer the sun rather than sitting in the shade.
Let's do some observation. Usually based on my observations, human activities leave traces of garbage on the streets, dirt spots on the grass, which gives the observer information about city life. And these traces can also be recorded through census photography and mapping. Photographing is testing by observing and experiencing situations that show the interaction or lack of interaction between urban form and life. And then thinking about which elements communicate and which do not.
Oh look, let's go over there and I will tell you something. Look over there, how people are sitting on the stairs. Generally, stairs, poolsides and raised walls become seating and interaction areas for people.
Yes, William, they even put pools inside public buildings so that the decibels increase and the atmosphere becomes more peaceful. In this way, we get away from the chaos of the city a little bit. Hey Alexander, maybe the introvert you mentioned can be happy here too.
Maybe, Kevin. Jeremy just called Disneyland was waiting for us too. If you're done, shall we go over to him?
As I said, I have a meeting, you can go. See you later.
Attention please.
When I got here, I realized that because of the deaf facades of the big skyscrapers in New York, people don't like to walk on the street and head for the squares. In Disneyland, shops, windows, people give a lot of money because it creates a fake neighborhood atmosphere.
How did New York end up like this? Of course, the government could not develop New York alone, and private property also played a large part in this case. In general, by making the entrance area a blind wall, they leave a public space at the bottom. The reason for this is the incentive received from the state. William, you mentioned the liveliness of the cafes in the squares. In fact, one of the purposes of these public spaces is to receive incentives from the state. In this way, people with private property can both get incentives from the state and expand their own land by making public space.
Yes, I get it. I am sure that this trip and our observations gave us all different perspectives. See you again in another city.